Welcome, this is Marianne. Welcome to your Addictive Brain free self-discovery masterclass. Now it's going to go for probably about 10 minutes, and what you're going to discover in yourself is things that you may not ever be asked before. You're going to have a really great understanding of what's actually happening for you, how we're going to break patterns. I'm also going to run you through some really deep dive self-inquiry questions so you can actually see on the page where you're at, why you're there. And then I'm going to explain to you how we're going to break these patterns, break these cycles so that you can feel really at peace with yourself. I describe the meaning of success like this. If I feel really content, like almost blissful at times, really content in an area of my life, I know I'm successful. It's got nothing to do with the outside world. And this is a part of the ego structure that we've got to break down so that you can come home to yourself and really, really enjoy this process. At the end of this video, I'm going to be offering you to join a 6-week live class with me, and I'll explain a little bit more about that. I've made it hugely cost effective, and you're dealing with somebody who's got lived experience, right? So look at this first chart. And here I want you to get out a piece of paper. You might even want to pause this video. This is critical information for you. And know that this chart, when we measure it, when I give you these tools to measure it, changes often. And especially after you do a 6-week deep dive with me, you'll notice it changes out of sight. So you'll notice at the top there we got purpose, career, or job. I want you to mark out of 10, how much out of 10 what you're currently doing in the world, how you're contributing, is that making your heart sing? Like you feel really content. Then I want you to go to the right to relationships. And we've got 3 types of relationships here. We've got friendships, how much out of 10? Do you really feel content with your friendship pool? You've got, people you can turn up on their door no matter what, and they'll take you in, listen to you, support you, celebrate you. And then we've got family. How much out of 10 are you feeling really at home in your family dynamic? Whether you're a parent, you can break it up into different ones. Whether you're a parent, whether you're a relationship with your own parents, how much out of 10 are you content in this area of your life? And you might even include your siblings. But here's an important thing to understand, especially when we're getting to the intimate relationships. Even if you don't have a relationship with your siblings, or you've fallen out with your parents or anything like that, how much out of 10 are you at peace with that? Or do you still find yourself leading with conversation around it's their fault, my childhood, I had a terrible upbringing? So just notice that. How much out of 10 are you content in this area of your life? And then we look at an intimate relationship. Do you have a significant other? Is it, you're really content with this relationship? Is it something that makes your heart sing? And then we go down to health. And it's important you don't think too long about these things. Just spontaneously, you'll know, your body will know, your mind will know what out of 10 this is. So your mental health on a daily basis. Do you find your thought looping? You're always looking for problems. There's more negatives than positives. How do you take care of your mental health? How much out of 10 are you satisfied in that area of your life? Now, emotional health. This is a really big one. It's how do you feel on a daily basis? Not what you think, how you feel. So on a daily basis, are you feeling miserable more than happy? Do you have the capacity to go, well, hang on a minute, what if I had a really successful day? If I'm the creator of my experience, how can I really get on board with that? or are you suffering? So how much out of 10 are you feeling really good about your emotional state on a daily basis? And then we go to physical health. Do you look in the mirror and really enjoy who you see? Are you working out? Are you doing daily exercise? Are you feeling good in your body? How much out of 10? And then we've got spiritual health. Now this can be anything from your inner peace, your inspiration. The Latin word for inspiration is in spirit. How much do you feel inspired on a daily basis? Or do you, believe in, the universe provides, God? Do you have some sort of connection to something far greater than you? How much out of 10 are you content with that area of your life? And then we go to financial health. Do you have, can you live for 6 months if you don't get paid? Do you have a good fallback, or do you stress about money on a daily basis? Do you worry? How much out of 10 are you content in this area of your life? Now we go to recreation. What do you do to go out there and, do you go to on walks? Do you have connection with other people in society, that you enjoy life? And these sort of merge into a couple of areas like, what joy do you get? How much out of 10 do you have joy in your life? You're content with your joy factor. You're content with your recreation factor. How much out of 10? And then we go to creativity, because we know in the brain that when we're anxious, the opposite of anxiety is creativity. Your brain can't do two things at once. So if you go and do something really creative, and it's not about speaking, writing, singing, it can be about cooking, it can be about, making something, building something, it could be creating anything, it could be writing a book. How much out of 10 do you feel really content with that area of your life? And then when it comes to the addictive brain, this is a really challenging one for some people. Social life. So for example, you might, when you first abstain from your addictive identity, if it's drugs, alcohol, gambling, that sort of thing, there's massive changes that need to happen, and we can kind of push everyone away and isolate. But that doesn't always have to be the case. And social life, do you have supportive, sober friends, or friends that don't transfer their addiction? So if you've got an online shopping addiction, are you transferring it into munching out lots at night? Or if you have a munching out lots at night or after work, or having chocolate bars in your desk at work, whatever it is, do you have the capacity right now to feel content that you've got all of that energy under control? So now we don't want to add it all up, but we want to really have the time to really look at this. And can you see this is why your addictive brain is acting the way it is? Because when we have really low scores or really high scores in some, if you had all high scores, 8 out of 10, really content, you wouldn't have an addictive situation. What we do with these feelings is we're trying to self-soothe. So let me explain how, by doing this 6-week intervention for yourself, investment in yourself, how it can completely change your brain. We're going to look at this. So there's 3 parts of the brain. In this part of the brain called, let me explain it like this. What happens in the body when you have a feeling you don't want to feel? So the nervous system reacts. It goes up to the amygdala in the brain. Now this is where your emotional center is, as far as it's going to do one of several things. You're either going to freeze, which means you procrastinated in full gear. You can't complete the task or thing you want to do. You just want to give up. You freeze. So you go and avoid, and you do something like your addictive energy, right? You might Netflix binge. You might, you just freeze. You can't see, or you don't feel like you have the capacity to do anything different. Then you've got fight. You might start blaming people, getting into arguments, things like that. This is another way the nervous system responds to reactions, triggers, gets angry. Then you've got flop, which is a common one where the nervous system just collapses and you just want to blob, eat chocolate, eat crap all day, whatever you want to do. You just don't want to cope with it. A lot of people, like when I was addicted to, when I had a drug addiction, the next day, all as my nervous system could do was flop. Had no capacity to do anything. And if I was going out that night and if I felt overwhelmed or anything like that, a line of cocaine was always the solution, or a bag, whatever. So then you've got fight, flight, flee. Flee is when you just want to run away from your problems. Now, there's an amazing solution to that. Run towards your problems instead of run away. So we want to run away from our problems, avoid everything we're feeling, and go and get smashed, or get on an online shop for food, or eat lots of sugary things or carbs, drink lots of alcohol, smoke lots of cigarettes, whatever your thing is. There's no right and wrong addiction. It's just the same, acting out in a different way. Okay, and so you're getting the picture. This is what the body does. Now, then we have the hippocampus. Now, the hippocampus is where your past memory. So what happens in your body? So you get a feeling, it goes up to the amygdala, it talks to the hippocampus. Hang on a minute, is this a trigger from my past? Hippocampus goes back to memory. So you might meet someone and they remind you of someone. That's a pretty good example. And you go, I don't like that person's energy, because they remind you of somebody that harmed you when you were younger, right? So you get into this reactive mode. You don't want to feel it. You go and have some sort of addiction. And then we got the prefrontal cortex. Now, this is the most interesting part that really decides. This is what we do in the course. We're strengthening your mental and emotional capacity. The prefrontal cortex is the decision maker. It's the one that has reason. You can pause and go, hang on a minute. And so in a male brain, the prefrontal cortex hasn't fully developed until you're about 28. So this is why young people go off the rails and do really bad things. They don't even have a brain to reason with, especially if they're on ice or all of these things. They go kick in doors, they go and bash people, no brains at all, basically, right? And so same with women, it's about 24 where that prefrontal cortex matures and you can make positive decisions. Now, this also comes up from your culture, your upbringing, your belief system. So there's a whole complexity of energy going around the addictive brain. So let's say that, so what we do differently in this course, for example, is we're not only looking at what your triggers are, we're looking at where they've come from. Are they in the real world? Is this a false reality appearing real? Is this a fear appearing real when it's not actually real? Is it irrational? We look at all your belief system. How we do that is I ask you questions you may not ever been asked before. Let me give you an example. So right now, I want you to lower your eyes for a moment. Take a breath in through the nose, back to the ears. Notice your belly rising. Let it go out the mouth for longer. One more in through the nose, back to the ears. Notice your belly rising. And breathe out through the mouth for longer. Now I want you to ask yourself a question. What reason do you have to be addictive? What reason? And I want to leave you with that question, and I want you to journal it for 2 minutes. Now, the neuroscience behind this exercise is profound. for 2 minutes. Just keep writing the prompt until you automatic write. The unconscious mind might come in. It's a psychological term where the unconscious mind, 98% of our thoughts are unconscious. We're on automatic pilot. But when we bring attention to something and we write it out, so the prompt that you're working with is, what reason do I have to be addictive? Sit with that, write for a couple of minutes, see what happens. And if this is something that's speaking to you, and if you want to feel, what if I'm really successful at this, and master your addictive brain, what would change? I want you to imagine for a moment what it would feel like if you didn't have your addictive brain, if that part of you had no desire to reach for relief because you had reconciled within yourself the reasons for doing it in the first place. So check out the next steps and the links if you're curious to learn more, and it'd be my pleasure to help you. Much love to you.